Most of the social will come after the talk.
I'm running. I'll be running that now since I won't be.
Okay, sweet.
Cool.
And in lieu of like our families and our day jobs and our love for the community, I just want to reiterate, we're so thankful for your flexibility and your cooperation and for being a part of this community and adding your expertise and your excitement and joy, because it's super important that we create a new paradigm for the art world, the digital world of creativity moving forward. So yeah, I think that we're live. Welcome everybody to day 4 of Crypto Art Week. This panel is the XR NFT and AR NFT panel. We are joined by some of the most awesome artists in the space. We've got Joy, Lucas, Glass Crane, Don Allen, Giant Swan, and Meta Guys, rocking your world for the next hour. Make sure you definitely put all of your questions in the chat, because these are the experts in the space. These are the guys who are on everybody's demand list when it comes to anything XR. You don't want to miss this talk, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to ask your questions. All of them have socials. They'll shout them out. You can also hit them up in DMs or just, on their Twitter. And yeah, continue to follow the conversation, hashtag Crypto Art Week or cryptoartweek.com. I am your host, Lady Phoenix, joined by Coldy. And we thank you guys for being here. Take it away, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Lady Phoenix. Thank you, Coldy, for hosting this event. This is like a really exciting moment for the XR community. And when we talk about XR and crypto art and we merge these two worlds together, there's just a lot of possibilities. So maybe we can just go around and just introduce everybody. I don't know what order you are all on the screens relative to each other. So somebody just jump right in and just give us your name and a little bit about yourself.
I'll hop in. Hello, I'm Joy. My full name is John Orion Young, so my initials are Joy, and that's where that comes from. I make joys in Joy World, and I basically sculpt them in Oculus Medium and then bring them into our world through augmented reality, and then you can buy and trade and sell and give those joys to friends on the blockchain. Each joy is a one-on-one unique virtual muse. So yeah, come check it out.
Awesome.
Happy to
Thank
be
you,
here.
Joy.
And hi, Don.
Hello.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, Don. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm Meta Guys. I'm a VR artist. I've come from a graphic design background, and so I'm learning 3D workflows off the back of playing in Tilt Brush a couple of years back. So and I've been able to be enjoyed creating things in VR for VR, and I'm excited by the future of that, of being able to display one-of-a-kind VR sculptures in the metaverse of the future. So that's what I'm focused on a lot at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you. Welcome.
Then I'll go next. My name is Stephen McCrory. I go by Glass Crane, and I'm a 3D artist, a VJ, and a projection artist. And I come from Orlando, Florida. I think I started like 5 or 6 years ago. I got into Photoshop, and then eventually made the jump to Cinema 4D and Octane Render, and and then just started kind of treading the waters with Unreal and a little bit of VR and AR with Unity, and here I am.
Amazing. Welcome.
What else we got on here?
Hello, I'm Lucas. I'm from Argentina, Córdoba, Argentina. I come from a visual arts, traditional painting and drawing background. And some years ago, like 3 years ago, we got a grant in an art and tech contest. And we me with both friends. Sorry for my English. I am not used to talk a lot in English. No? I speak Spanish. So, well, we started doing like mixing VR and traditional painting, and that's what I am up to, like doing things with VR, but always like mixing from the traditional background and the physical world into the virtual space. No? So I am a newcomer to the NFT space, crypto art space, like 2 months, 3 months maximum. So I'm like, I don't understand shit.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hey guys, I'm Giant Swan, based in Melbourne, Australia. I make art using XR tools just like everyone else here, and I'm focused on creating all sorts of different immersive worlds and storylines that cross media as well.
Excellent. Well, welcome everybody. My name's Don. I'll be moderating today, kind of helping guide a little bit of the conversations around the space. By day, I'm a specialist trainer at DreamWorks, so I teach a lot of our creative tools and software. And then in the nights, I do a lot of XR work, AR, VR, a lot of the same tools and technology that everybody here is in. So really cool, and I feel like we're a big family. We're all over the world. It's a pleasure to have everybody. So first question I just want to open up with, because I know a lot of folks, myself included, that are new to the crypto art space, they don't even know what it is. They're like, what are you talking about? So if does anybody want to just jump in and say, you know what crypto art is, and then has an answer?
Crypto art that's sold using crypto technology.
Okay, crypto technology, great. But what if I don't even know that? It's like, what is, so like I had someone I said, I'm doing crypto art now. And they're like, what is that? So is it good enough just to say, oh, it's like, it's based off the blockchain. It's like, is there any metaphors that any of you have used to try to explain crypto art to someone who does not know crypto art?
I've got a shit metaphor. We can go for that. I was trying to tell a kid about it, and I described it like they kind of had a vague understanding that Bitcoin was a currency. So I said, imagine like there's a dragon with a pile of coins, and all of those coins are Bitcoins. But then there's like individual special items like crowns and scepters and sculptures and things like that. Those are the arts on the blockchain with the cryptocurrencies. They're individual one-off items, and they're attached to your picture, your item, something that you've made that is going to stay in that cave and be, is valuable like the rest of the coins, but it can't be copied, and it's only one of a kind, or maybe 10 of a kind sometimes, but mostly like one of a kind.
Amazing. That's not a shit metaphor. That's actually really great. So you're saying that example, there's like a dragon, and it's got all these magical kind of collectible items underneath the dragon, and there's only one a kind of these coins. You can have scepters and crowns, and you're saying that is the art. That is a crypto art. It's these like
like any NFT is like a one-off valuable item that sits in the same space as all the coins that can be traded back and forth, but they're unique, and they become more valuable over time.
Amazing. Well, that's super fun and helpful. Does anybody else have another metaphor they use trying to explain what is crypto art to somebody who's like, I don't know what you're talking about?
I like to try and encourage people to explore how you would use crypto art when I'm trying to explain what it is. Mm-hmm. One thing I really like to go back to is when you look at your food or like a box of cereal, on the side of the box, you've got all the details about where it's come from and what's inside it. I like to frame crypto art as the way to provide that for digital work in a way that's consistent across all or most works. And it's just like make it a consumer-friendly kind of display rather than bombarding them with too much crypto talk, because I don't know, I get just as lost as they will then.
That's a super useful metaphor. So it's like a back of a cereal box. You get the nutrition facts. You get like what issue this is, what version. Is it expired? All these kind of things before you want to eat and buy the cereal. You might want to know these things. You might want to know the history. And crypto art is that equivalent. You get to know all the history of that artwork before, like when you see it, and that information's just like on the shelves in your grocery store. It's public, available. Anyone can look at the history of this thing. Amazing. Totally. Thank you so much. All right. So exciting times, cereal boxes and dragon caves. I think we're on the right track here with our XR community. Another question I hear a lot too is sometimes people don't know what XR is. and they're like, we're speaking like a foreign language on top of another foreign language. Does anyone want to jump in and say what XR means to them? And yeah, the foundation.
Yeah, I'll hop in. It's funny. I love the dragon on the pile of coins metaphor a lot. I would almost say like the scepter and crowns are additions, and the dragon itself is the one of one. Like
Nice, yeah.
there can only be one dragon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I in a similar way, I've tried to, for myself, tried to obscure all the crypto out of the language when I talk about joys and stuff. So instead of saying art, I talk about joys, and I talk about that they live within Joy World, which is really, I'm kind of saying in a contract on the blockchain, these joys, which are tokens, live inside of Joy World. And so I've been trying to kind of just obscure those away. And same with XR. I try to not talk about XR or augmented reality or other things, but I talk about joy vision and being able to see joys in your reality. So I think that in our space where we're in this and we're all kind of nerdy and really like artistic and like, yeah, we have all these crazy terms for things, they won't really stick for people. So it's just kind of good to kind of figure out ways to just make metaphors for them. So I love when you said the dragon on the coins. This is brilliant.
Yeah, and that's
Really
super. Thank you so much. It's a great definition of like, being able to see your artwork in their reality instead of like, talking about tracking and like, occlusion and like depth of field and 6 degrees of freedom, which is like, what is this weird language? You're saying, oh, imagine my artwork in your reality. You're like, oh, got it. XR, got it. Clear. Okay, nice. Lucas, haven't heard from you much on this one. How do you define XR?
I don't know, man. I just like entered in VR. Like for me, I don't have a technical background, no. So I feel like I am part of that public that okay, I need to understand it in simpler ways, like you said, no. And for me, it's like okay, mixing a bit of those worlds, no. You can go in there or have a little of it in your life, no? So it's more or less like you said.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much. I just wanted to start off with those very foundational questions. What is crypto art? What is XR? And now we dive into what we're doing. We're literally combining these things. So one question I also get a lot is some people don't understand, like, what is the why? Why should I, as someone who's interested in the XR space, why should I be interested in crypto art? Like, why can't I just keep doing what I've been doing? Maybe I'm putting like single release things on Instagram and then doing DM conversations about transactions, sending over files, writing contracts. Why is that different? Why should someone do crypto art if they're already doing XR with the old tools? I'll call them classical tools.
I think there's a lot of beauty in rarity and in provenance and understanding where something came from and then like where it is now and where it's going. And with us taking our art out of screens and then putting it into our world, we're actually now like, it's kind of cool. I don't know, in the old internet, you could have multiples or anything, but this is a really great opportunity we have right now to kind of rewrite that as we're going into augmented reality and virtual reality, is to say like, let's not take that old way with us from the past, but let's step into a new world where you can actually have something that's unique and special for you. And I think
love
that
yeah.
There's also something very beautiful between the relationship between collector and artist. And I really think like collectors are almost more crazy than the artists they collect. And so like there's really like, I look through the people who collect joys and each person has a totally unique style, but it's like, it's definitely in complete synchronicity with me. I feel like we kind of share together and there's a real beauty in that.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing, just to kind of reflect back, I'm hearing this beauty and rarity, things that are unique and special are, we're bringing that back. And then the relationship between the collector of your art pieces and the artist. Sometimes the collector is like the crazier one than the artist who can imagine it. It's the person who wants to collect that thing is even crazier than the artist who imagined that thing.
Yeah. And I think there's something cool if you can have the thing and then they can have the thing, and then it can be traded around the world. It just makes like virtual art so much more real than it has been in the past.
Thank you so much. That's a great definition of it. anybody else? Any other reasons why, why should we get into crypto art as an, if we're in the field of XR, why should we do that? Things are beauty and rare, things are unique. Why else? Well, those are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but give me some more.
But basically, you can pay your bills with crypto.
Yeah.
No? That's amazing, man. That's blow my mind. Like we are entering with this pandemic stuff. No, we are entering in a virtual world, and people now see that the virtual is also real. That you meet a person in a Zoom call, and you say to the other person, "Oh yeah, I saw I was with that guy the other day," and we didn't think that way prior to this pandemic. So I think this is showing us that the next world will be no difference between virtual and real. No, it's it's the same in a way. It's the same. So. On top of that, it's like if you are a creator, you know that you are unprotected legally. No, some, I don't know, some big names can take your stuff and say, okay, we do it, we did it. I mean, and now you can, like Joy said, have provenance and transparency, and everything knows what everything is up to. That's democratic. That's anarchy in a way. It's amazing, man.
Amazing. So just to kind of repeat back what I'm hearing, pay your bills. If you're getting crypto artwork, you're able to pay your bills from your XR and digital work. I'm also hearing that the distinguishing between the real world and the virtual world is really starting to vanish. And that's very evident by these Zoom calls where you say, I actually met these people, and we're talking about virtual screens, but this is how we're meeting people in this, COVID 2020 time. And then I'm also hearing the increase in transparency between the artist and the work, a lot of, and the client and the collector. There's a lot more there's less, maybe shady business. It's more like we can see everything. And the last two that you said was about credibility and democratization of artwork. So really beautiful stuff. Glasscran, I know your call kind of dropped for a moment just to kind of get you up to speed. We're going through, and I'm asking, why should somebody get into the crypto space? Why should someone get into the crypto art space, especially if they're into XR right now? And so I'm just kind of going through. That's where we're at. If you wanted to chime in on any of that as well.
Yeah, sure. I think what the crypto space is adding is just a lot of inherent value and tangibility to what us as XR creators. There's
getting a little bit of dropped audio on the last line that you said there. I heard inherited value and credibility, and then it cut out for a bit. Oh, or now it's frozen for real. Oh. You might, let's see, maybe we can try for Glass Crane, if you are able to hear my voice, maybe try doing just the audio for a little bit. I'm so sorry. I would like to see your face though, but I can't hear you at all right now.
He's in another dimension. He fell through a portal.
All right.
Oh God, I forgot portals are everywhere.
How do we follow him? We need to follow him.
Follow him. Let's go.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah.
Way better.
You can hear me better now? We good?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying, a lot of the benefits to joining a crypto art community is, it helps make digital art more tangible. It starts to become something where it's just a square on your screen to something you can display and experience. It adds that additional level of immersion where, you can make money and actually facilitate a lifestyle with digital art. Whereas, before just working face to face with clients, the value wasn't really necessarily expressed, to any client. Sure. It's just, they think it's just your computer making all that art. Whereas now you can really kind of dive in and bring people into your worlds so that they can see the hard work that goes into it. And that raises the inherent value of it to me.
Amazing. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. And I think a lot of us can share that sentiment as well. What about you, Giant Swan? Any comments on why somebody should get into the crypto art space, especially if they're from an XR background?
Yeah, so like if you're in XR creative tools right now, you're not someone who's looking for established workflows. Creating with XR tools means you're asking questions like, how are people going to see what I'm making right now all the time? It's like your number one job. If these are your main tools, how do people see what I'm seeing right now? And crypto art space is sort of like an extension, like, well, using a crypto art space is an extension of that, of those questions, but more from like a business standpoint. So suddenly you can mint that journey of how you're trying to get your art to other people, and it's actually making it to those people. And then over time, what happens is you end up with like this legacy of, like, it's like a journal of work now that lives on its own, and it lives parallel to what you're doing at any time, instead of just a feed where you have to scroll extra far to see.
Amazing. Just one thing I want you to maybe build up a little bit more. You use the term minting the journey. That might also be totally foreign language to somebody getting into crypto art. So when you mint something, what does that even mean?
Totally. So once you're adding your work to the blockchain on your chosen platform or contract, you would say that, oh, well, I would say that I was minting a work, and that's basically, that's when she's out there, man. Any changes I'm going to make is going to be a separate digital thing and totally out of my control from there, including typos.
Wow.
Yeah.
So minting is very much like a one-way street. Once you mint something, it's now like it's out there. You can't say,
Totally,
oh, I'm going to unmint it.
Well, yeah, there are such things as burn addresses and stuff like that, where you do have a second chance, but you quickly learn not to rely on that sort of thing. So we'll keep that on the down low.
Sure.
Is no undo button.
Got it.
People
So
will
minting,
know that you, because like there's still a history of you moving that on. So
right.
Yeah, it's never really gone.
Wow, that's good to know. For those that are trying to get into the space, if you mint something, it's kind of like you're going in a single direction and there's not like really an easy back button.
Yeah, it's kind of forever. So originally the first Joy contract, when I was minting Joys to start, there weren't many platforms or any platforms really to like mint art. So I built the first Joy World contract and like went all the way up to like 81 Joys. It ended up with Berserk, and the kind of contract I made was a hot potato. So basically you could buy a Joy for $1 and then the contract raised the price and automatically sold it. So you could steal somebody's Joy if you were willing to pay more money. And it was like called a hot potato contract. And so after a while, people like traded up to a certain point, but they were like, we can't own it. We really want to own our Joys. We really want to own our Joys. So I made a new contract and paused the old contract and then minted new Joys, redistributed them to the collectors that currently had them. And then we started again. So that's like a series 2 kind of change, but that's like considered like a fork in crypto world. So it's like the first art fork. But it's like, it gets really complicated as you start minting your art and like, where is it all? And, keeping track of it. But it's cool that we have that provenance and you can track it all down.
Yeah, with these smart contracts, who are they between? Because I know, like, is it between you and the marketplace, or is it between you and the collector?
So when you mint a smart contract, it's minted into the blockchain essentially, and then you mint tokens inside of that contract. So Joy World is like one contract, and it's called Joy World S2, Series 2 or Season 2, and then all the Joys are individual tokens minted inside of there in the blockchain. And that way it's distributed around the world in a global computer. Super Rare is like one contract where all the artworks are minted inside of it. So that's a contract, and like Joy World's a contract. So there's like different contracts in the blockchain, and then art tokens are minted inside of them. So nobody really owns it other than the person who owns the token and the person who owns the contract that they can mint to.
Incredible.
It's considered like a CEO of the contract, basically. You can have a COO. Different people who manage the contract, but other than that, it's all distributed.
Awesome.
Can't like take people's stuff away. Basically, it's rad.
Yeah, like encourage that kind of like, I mean, it's rare, but it's also, I like that the wording, the hot potato contract, like where someone can take it and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's been taken away. Someone grabbed it. Dang it, I can grab it. Could they grab it back? Could you keep doing that game?
Yeah, you could always buy it for more money. The highest went like $2,000 on Joybot, and then people like really wanted to own it. That was like a problem, and then a lot of people are kind of mad at me for doing that, and like we're trying to hide my contract from existing in the scene.
Oh, wow.
For like a moment. So it's like people really didn't like the hot potato because it goes against these fundamentals, these ideas that when you own something, you really own it. I basically removed that part of the contract that allowed the ownership. So it was it's crazy, man. It was, but yeah, people want to own their art. I really think so, and this is the right way to go.
Yeah, speaking about ownership and even like the money that's behind this, so a lot of folks might understand, okay, there's this thing called cryptocurrency that you can get, but how does that turn into dollars? How can someone take something that they sold and it's in a virtual currency and then translate it and redeem it as something that they can use to actually pay their real bills and their food and like the ability to eat? You know, how do I take my virtual AR, VR experience and turn that into something that I'm going to be able to eat food and pay my rent because of this? How does that work?
I just convert it using Coinbase on my mobile phone. I'm sure there are other ways of doing it, but it's really, really easy. It's like it's a couple of minutes to send the Ethereum to your phone, to a wallet, a Coinbase wallet, and then to convert that into sterling and put it in your bank. It really doesn't need to be too sort of complicated. And also, I know that in the EU and in the UK now, there's the Monolith Visa card, which uses you can spend your cryptocurrency in shops, just like a Visa card. I've just had mine delivered today, but I haven't set it up yet. But I think that makes it a lot easier as well. So it really doesn't need to be too alienating for people. It sounds a bit weird with all these acronyms and stuff to begin with, but I'm onboarding some friends at the moment, and everybody's always surprised by actually how easy it is. There's just a list of weird terms. Once you know those terms, you realize it's actually quite simple.
What's one of those terms that I know we've gone over a couple, but is there any other terms that you were not familiar with when you first got into the space and you're like, oh, that's a weird one, but now I understand it, kind of thing?
Well, NFT is a ridiculous one, isn't it? I mean, it's like the ugliest name in the world for something awesome, like non-fungible token. It sounds like a fungus disease or something. And
like
that's sort of, I always sort of say, just think of that as a one-off item that has its own sort of history. Has its own, it exists as a single item, and the difference, because no one's heard the word fungible before either. Like, what's a fungible token? You're saying something is not this thing I've never heard of. I think that's always a bit of a difficult one. A lot of people, when you say like Bitcoin, then there's some connotations there, isn't there? So people think, oh, you mean like that stuff that druggies use or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because of like right-wing tabloid press, run by the banks doesn't want people to be moving over to this decentralized currency system. But there's only a short list of a few terms, and past that it actually kind of makes sense. You've just got a digital wallet that you can use to create things and pop into and pass between into someone else's wallet.
Thank you for that detail. Kind of on that, I know we've all probably had conversations with folks that are like, oh, you're using crypto? Oh, so like you're in like the black market and you're doing some shady stuff. I need some tips because I didn't have the best rebuttals when those came up, and I would like to have better rebuttals. So what rebuttals have you used when someone starts to highlight just the negative side of this thing that's really awesome? I need some more help.
I feel like just like any other kind of market, there's going to be people who are money laundering or hiding money in general. So I feel like that's pretty much the best rebuttal. Anywhere there's good, there's going to be some bad as well. But as long as you just got your own ducks in a row.
Yeah, like what are we comparing it to? We're comparing it to the banking system that's full of angels.
Say one part again.
So I just saying, if we're comparing it to the banking system, no one's got faith in government or the banks either. So
the banks.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet there's a lot more corruption in regular banking than anywhere else. So.
That's true, and it's also a lot less transparent. You have no idea where that money's going most of the time. you're like putting your money in a bank, but you had no idea that your money that was earning interest rates was like being used for a cause or an organization or a whole thing that you actually like ethically disagree with, but that like you have no transparency of that with a lot of traditional banks.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can't
and
control
also your money is being used to make other people very rich. Like the interest, you know, a current account now pays you what, less than 1% interest.
Yeah.
You put your money into a stable coin, which on cryptocurrency, which is, you know, linked to the dollar, but you get 4% interest. You know, these are better banking system, and of course you can get much better than that if you're willing to play a few games with decentralized finance. But it's hard to convince people to like. You know, we've all been brought up with this institution of like this. You know, we trust these things, and
banks have done
your money works for you better.
Brainwashing us. Yeah, the banks have done a very good job at brainwashing us.
Yeah.
Like you hear a lot of like lines that people say of things that they think are just inherently good for everybody. And it's like, you know, the banks wrote that like dialogue for you to say. That was written by them. They're like, oh, everyone should own a home. Owning a home is a great
100%.
idea.
Propaganda.
Right.
To the max, yeah.
So another question, also, I mean, I know we use a lot of different tools for XR, like very much, it's very, very widespread, kind of going off of what Giant Swan said of like how, you know, we have like a non-linear approach to our work. Does anybody want to share maybe some tools that, you know, you started learning and that's what you use to maybe help assist with your art forms?
I think, you know, with XR in general, it comes down to more than just one tool. I think anybody here can also agree with me that, you know, it becomes a sort of pipeline workflow. Me personally, like I usually start everything in ZBrush, where I'll do some digital sculpting and modeling, and then I'll use something like Cinema 4D and Octane for compositing, texturing, lighting, that kind of thing. Pretty sure Giant Swan has a pretty similar workflow as well. But I think it's interesting adding recently VR into the pipeline is probably the most intriguing because, you know, it's art making as an experience, as well as a flow state, you know.
Yes. Thank you so much. Anybody else have some tools that they can recommend for those that are like, oh, this is sounding dope. How do I start? What software do I have to buy or rent? Or I'm going to leave it at that.
And Tilt Brush.
Yeah, that's the best way.
It's a great jump in.
Sorry, say it again. You said Tilt Brush?
That's
yeah.
Definitely the best.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're on the other side of the world.
I know. I'm still waking up.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. No.
It's the evening for me. Tilt Brush is definitely the one. I've spent all of year before last, taking it into schools and hospitals and youth clubs and community organizations, and everybody can pick up Tilt Brush. I've worked with 82-year-olds, I've worked with 7-year-olds. Like, you can jump in, you can use it, and it is very much about. I mean, the reason why I'm doing this now is purely because of that. That experience is just mind blowing, and you know, it affects most people in different ways. But honestly, I've put a headset on like well over 100 people, giving them a go in Tilt Brush when they haven't used VR before, and everybody loves it. Everybody without fail, and it's very intuitive. Like, what looks like high tech from the outside, on the inside is actually a very human embodied experience. And you put some music on, and then, that flow state that Glass Grains mentioned, I mean, that's like a really cool place to be, right? Just like be in the art and creating it all around you, and everyone can sort of relate to that sort of doodling or whatever. And actually, the first piece I put on Super Red was just Tilt Brush with a camera flying through it and no other tools. You know, so you can do it without too much of a scary workflow. I'm only just starting to learn what on earth a UV is. You know, you don't have to understand all that if you just want to have fun and put a piece up and see if other people like it. So it's very accessible. More accessible than any other sort of 3D tools. If you could put a headset on, then you're straight into scribbling in 3D. So it's wonderful.
That's incredible. Anybody else have some? I mean, that's amazing. For those that are just tuning in right now, or you skipped ahead in this like recording, we're hearing Tilt Brush, we're hearing Cinema 4D, we're hearing tools like ZBrush, Tilt Brush. Any other suggestions out there for people trying to get into XR?
For me, yes, Tilt Brush is excellent for the first experience. No, in fact, sometimes I like to give people like no clue whatsoever and put them a helmet, and the best the best response came from a 9-year-old girl. She said, "Okay, I know GuildRush," and she worked like natural. I was like, man, but my heart is with Medium, Adobe now Adobe prior Oculus Medium. For me, it's like, no, man. The first time I started sculpting with Medium, like I was crying, man. I was like, man, yes, literally, it was like a dream for me. Like I always thought when I was a kid, I want to draw a line in space. No, I want to, and also like when I paint, I study the classical ways, and I think in space. No, I think in a volume in space. No, and suddenly you can enter in the space and work with. Like I said before, I don't have a technical background. I use also ZBrush with for some freelance work, but always like a little of it, like for reference or paint over. But Medium is like, man, you have that thing in front of you, and you can do work with it like if you were a kindergarten, you
like
can work with. Totally, man. Is for all. It's democratic again, no? In a way,
everyone can have infinite materials.
Yeah, infinite virtual clay. That's like you can go back on. How freaking nuts is that? That wasn't like that. That was gonna happen in our lifetime. Like it didn't.
I love that Lucas said he cried whenever he used it.
Yeah.
I could, that same feeling. It's just like, oh my God, what is this? This is like a blessing from above. Like, what is this thing happening?
Yeah, man. And the second mind blow with Medium was with why I was watching some videos, and suddenly I understand that I can get photogrammetry or 3D scan models into VR with texture. I was like, nah, man, you can do it for real, man, for real. So I like scanned my girlfriend with this phone. Cheap phone, and suddenly she was inside, and I was like, I can see her like a tiny object, or like a real person, or like a giant. No, is no, and that connection between worlds was the most mind-blowing thing for me.
Wow, this is going to be a solid ad for all the Adobe team. They're probably thrilled right now. Giant Swan, what about you? Any tools of recommendations, even like tools that you like to use or ones that you started with?
I've got a banger for you boys. If you want to see the most underrated, unused tools in the XR scene right now, you need to get your PlayStation 4, your PSVR, and you need to muck around with Dreams, because it is one of the most powerful tools I've ever used. If you've seen any of my recent stuff, that's all running natively in VR. It's insane how good you can make things look in it. And it's so intuitive and endless too. Like it reminds me of like early tilt brush days and stuff where we were working out how to make stuff in it. Dreams is having that movement at the moment where people are like, holy shit, I worked out how to make ice today, or whoa guys, this technique makes water. Like we're making elements. It's so cool. And it's it's really intimidating to start because I had to wait for the VR application just because that's the way my mind works creatively now. But even then, relearning controls and all this stuff took me months, mostly because it was so foreign. But once all the pieces finally clicked together, man, I've never been so excited about something since my first experience with VR, however many years ago.
Yay!
But get on that.
Nice, yeah.
And yourself, Joy. I know I saw your talk at Adobe Max, so I know you've just shared these recently, but do you want to highlight some of those tools again?
Oh yeah, I should add in Arrow. And I was thinking that as we were going around, I really want to recommend Arrow because I've recommended like a lot of stuff to people, and they usually don't have like a VR and don't want to jump in, and they're working with 2-dimensional media. So it's cool if you can actually just take like an app, which is free to download, and take your 2D work and just put it in your world. Is actually, you can do so much with it. There's an artist, his name's Darren Booth, and he made some really incredible experiences in there just from his like flat work. And he was like taking like paintings and splashing paint and then like, you know, putting it in there and then like putting it like around the room and actually building a very immersive experience, like building a virtual world inside of just a free app on his iPhone. Was pretty far out and like kind of expanded my mind with that tool.
Amazing. Yeah.
So for sure, check that out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you all with these tools. You know, ones I like to throw in there. So yeah, Adobe Arrow is incredible. I can definitely second that. I use it for a lot of stuff. You can have like pretty large files in there. So if you want to bring in your like high res, high polygon, you know, lots of textures, 4K textures, it works with that stuff now really well. And then another one on there I have on my list is a Substance Painter, Substance Designer. I use those for all these texturing things for like a lot of 3D pieces. Like this one here in the back was all in Substance Painter. And so things like, you know, for texturing, making like materials that are believable, that people like, you know, have like, and you can go from like photoreal, or you can go hyper real, or you can even go like painterly. It has a lot of, you have a lot of options. You don't, it doesn't lock you into any style. That's really cool with Dreams by PSVR. I actually have not heard of that. So I'm really going to look into that and you know, specifically looking into, yeah, just all these cool tools that we're in. All right, another question that has come up before. I know for me, I'm still learning this too. How does one start to learn about how they should price their work on a crypto market? Is it something where like you just guess? Is it something where, is there certain things that are taboo? Is there certain, like, is there a best practice? You know, because myself included, I'm gonna try soon to put some more stuff out, but I don't really know, like, since the space is so brand new, it's like, is there, you know, do we price things like, are we just, we don't know, we're just kind of figuring it out?
I had a weird start because every joy was $1 to start. And whenever I did like was thinking that conceptually, I was like, I wanted to build something where you were rewarded for collecting early. So every single person who ever bought the joy who didn't end up holding it at the end profited. And those people who like sold their joy once the market changed profited. And so it's nice to build in like room for collectors to trade it and like to go beyond what you're making. It's very challenging. Definitely like auctions are a good way to go. But I've been kind of participating in more auctions and I realized that they're very stressful. And so I wonder if collectors, and I see collectors don't seem to like to do that. It seems like they like buy prices, but it is very challenging to decide where to jump in.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Like when I first started, it seems like you almost have to kind of take a shot in the dark. I've always kind of wondered how other artists do it as well. But you know, I just kind of looked through Super Rare when I first joined up and saw what kind of, you know, artists using either the same tools or the same kind of vibe, kind of seeing what they're charging. Because as a creative, that's like the hardest thing is to try to pin a price on something, especially, you know, in crypto art where, you know, if you undervalue yourself,
sure,
it could take a good amount of time to, you know, to get to that kind of value point that you're seeking in order to maintain that financial freedom. But yeah, like I think it kind of takes a shot in the dark. Like, you know,
sure,
maybe I can get, you know, 5 ETH for this or 3 ETH for this, and then you just kind of put it out there into the ethos and see if somebody bites.
Nice.
And then, you know, if someone does, it can kind of get your average kind of set to an area. That way, collectors, when they see your work, they can, you know, they kind of know where to enter at. You know.
Incredible. That's some good advice for those getting into the space. And they're just like, I don't know how to start pricing my work because I don't value myself, you know?
You know, it would always be better to you know, to overvalue yourself than to undervalue yourself. Because I feel like even if you overvalue something, you know, you'll learn real quick, hey, you know, people aren't going to be paying this. So you can kind of find a happy medium, you know?
A happy Adobe medium.
Yeah.
Stick and stay is bound to pay too. Don't just start minting stuff and get upset and burn it all and give up. Like, you know, stick and stay and value your work. Don't just get rid of it. Hold it for, you know, you might hold it for years. Like in 2019, nobody was trading joys or anything. It was like very difficult time. And definitely the old contract, I never really made money or anything on it.
There's weird strategies with it too. Like actually, Joy, one thing I did recently, I noticed I had way too many pieces available.
Oh, wow.
And trying. I think there's like a balance between like scarcity and then obviously having your work available. I don't know. What do you feel about that? Because you're saying obviously to hold on to it for a good amount of time, and then it's like, on the other hand, if you have too much, that can kind of hurt the rarity. So I'm curious on your take on that.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of like all the first people who bought iPhones or things like that. We're all early adopters. So
Right.
I believe like within a year or so, there'll be over 1 million artists in here. And
Oh, yeah.
that there'll be over 1 million collectors or maybe 2 million collectors. And people might be more interested in like, what's the earliest stuff in this space? Like who was making the stuff? I've never minted an edition before also is one thing. So every single thing has been a 101.
Wow.
And in that way, like it is easier to hold it and say, well, I'm not going to just get rid of this because I feel very obsessed and like precious about it in some weird ways. So yeah, it's challenging, but I really feel like there's no way you can make like too much art, and I feel like everything is telling us that we're wrong about that internally. And like when you're putting it out there and you have it all sitting out there and you see other people selling stuff, like I see other people sell stuff for a lot too, and it's like, what's going on? Like for a second you have that like rush of like, what's going on? And it's almost you have to just let go of that, just believe in yourself and keep making it, hold it. But I do understand like the scarcity is important and the rarity is important. So if you have to burn some pieces to like get there and to like if you want to clean up your portfolio, your collection or whatever you're doing with it, it's definitely valuable. But yeah, I would just say like, yeah, don't be afraid to have too much work. I think I'm really trying to embrace that myself more.
I think that is a sort of subjective to each artist, no? Because I think the importance is that you have a coherence in your work. Like, I think I took a long time. The other day I was saying, oh, I hope that I can be abundant, but I cannot because I took a long time on each piece, but because I am like a piece artist, no, I work on but in other hand, for example, Joy, you have like a line of things, no? So I expect abundance in his work, no? I think it's all subjective, and it's important to be honest with oneself.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It comes down to that, you're minting art one at a time, but you're building a story of your work, and you need to you got to disconnect from that instant moment where it's really easy to observe the crypto art space and be like, wow, this guy just minted this thing and made a dickload of money. What, like it looks really impulsive, but what you're building, it's not always necessarily related to your work too. Some as an individual piece, sometimes it's more relating to your work as a whole, and that's where your value will eventually kind of show itself and what you'll work from. Trying to price yourself, I mean, you need to look at what are your first goals when you first start minting art. It's not necessarily getting ETH in the door. It's more about obtaining collectors. You want more people invested in your journey but if you're in a hurry, as quickly as possible, or maybe you want to go slow and steady, that's fine as well, man. But you need to be comfortable being aware that a lot of these art collectors in the scene at the moment are there to support you as an artist as much as they are the work that they love. And if you can value that input as well, you hang around the scene rather than get nervous and delete things. Your consistency as an artist contributes to how real you are to other people. Because as this scene gets busier and busier, it's going to be harder and harder to fake it.
Right.
Yeah. If you want to be dedicated, you've got to show that dedication. And the official way that we we share that at the in this scene is when you're making work. So yeah,
Amazing.
don't shy away from that.
Amazing. Does anybody else have any comments about the goals that you have going into being an to being a crypto art collector or a creator?
Just to expand upon what someone was saying, that your collectors are very, very quickly, unless it's their very first time purchasing any art ever, they're buying into the relationship with an artist and your story and the provenance, not of each piece, not just of each piece, but also of your trajectory as an artist, and they want to see be part of that story, I think. And so I think that's where there is an argument. It's hard to find a balance between rarity but also building collectors. If you're just doing one of one every month, then it's going to be a long time before you've got a lot of collectors, but at the same time you don't want to be putting things all over the place all the time, which is very sort of hard. So one sort of, I think my plan now is to have be on two platforms, focus on two platforms, and have one that it works in a certain way and another one that works in another way. That's a lot more rare on one, and then another one is a bit more maybe to build a following and to get more collectors on board. But as long as you're true to what you want to do, then there's going to be a consistency anyway. There's going to be an evolution of a style. There's going to be something that's very much your own thing. So it won't matter so much that there are these two things that are kind of have different mechanisms. They're still going to be part of that same person and that brand.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, like that was actually segues into the next question I wanted to ask this community was about platforms. So you said it might be important to be on maybe more than one platform and have one strategy that you're trying out with platform A and a different strategy with platform B. So what are some of those platforms that are out there? And does anybody have, I mean, I know a couple, but I'd love to hear this community as well.
I mean, I'm mostly on Super Rare, and I've given Rareable a shot as well. I think I minted one piece on Rareable as an addition out of 10. And that, the sales did pretty good, and it was really interesting to see how kind of a different community works. So, I mean, it's kind of just free to do whatever you want. If you want to try out different communities, maybe different ones will be more receptive to your particular brand of artwork, or maybe you like, the way the marketplace algorithms work and that kind of thing, or maybe you like the smart contracts, with Super Rare, where the secondary sales, you can get nice royalties off that. I'm not sure. It's a question that I guess I'll ask the rest of the artists here is like, what the perception is with, minting at Super Rare and Known Origin and Rareable. Is it something where you guys feel that you should stick to, maybe one or two of them, or is it, do you guys just want to kind of spread your artists as wide as you can on the different platforms?
Actually, I explore a bunch of different ones. But yeah, carry on. Sorry, John.
No, you're all right.
Because it's a nascent technology and it's a brand new space, and some of these the platforms are all doing very different things. I don't think you should worry too much about not, exploring different ones. There are some platforms. There's so many factors to take into account. In terms of like the design of the site, the user experience for the collectors, the other artists on there, how hard it is to get into it. Other things like cargo, for instance, is one that doesn't get talked about very much, but you can stake cryptocurrency in your artwork that gains interest over time and is passed on with that artwork. And you can do collaborations where you can split the royalties and the purchase price with different artists, like as part of the smart contract. And so and actually they're all changing over time as well. I know Super Rare have got some big changes coming up, and Rareables have like evolved at a crazy pace. And it's all so early now that I think it's worth definitely at least exploring your experience as an artist on all of them and see what you like. And there's, I don't know how many there are, probably coming up to 7 or 8, I don't know, that I know of at the moment. So there's quite a few. It's definitely worth exploring, I think.
Anybody else have any commentary about being on multiple platforms or being on just one in this early time of this brand new space?
I have a contrarian like opinion about the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So since I built my first contract, I didn't want anyone to go to the platforms. I was hoping everyone would build their own contracts, and that way there wouldn't be platforms. And this was like my first idea, like a big heady idea about it. I thought that we would all be free of platforms. There wouldn't be a Facebook and an Instagram editing and deleting people's art. And so that's why I first built my own contract, because I was all, this is an opportunity for you to be free to make whatever you want, sell it however you want, to whoever you want. The first Joy site, actually, it didn't even work on OpenSea. You couldn't buy or sell stuff over there. You could only buy it on the site. It was locked into the contract there. And I think it was because I was playing all the crypto games at the time, like, and I was building contracts early CryptoKitties days. And I was all, every artist will have their own contracts and they'll mint these contracts and we'll all be free of platforms. And OpenSea's idea was to be like an eBay of all the contracts. And so anybody could put their contract in there and use their infrastructure, or you could build your own infrastructure to trade on. And that way your art is completely decentralized from any central owner. But as I've watched it, I've seen, like Metageist is pointing out, lots of really cool things come out. I love like what Async's doing. I'm super interested to put something there. But I have rejected every platform that's asked me to put a Joy on there. And I've been asked by every platform. And I've also then had meetings with them and helped advise and try and give as much ideas to them. Because I want every artist here. I want all the artists here to the end of corporate art and the beginning of a new renaissance of art. So I love the platforms now. I really still think in the future it'd be rad if more artists were making contracts. I definitely plan to make a new contract, but yeah, I'm a big fan of like the indie artist movement style. So I think the closest thing to that is OpenSea, because you can like mint a contract there. It's pretty decentralized. You don't have much ownership over it, and then it's kind of your art set free.
I'm happy that we have different, like the room in here has different views about this one, because like that helps other people hear that this isn't just a one-sided view. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at this space, and even just like the fundamentals of where are you sharing? Are you going with the, your own, contract system, or are you going with a marketplace that establishes your contract? So that's really
cool. The marketplaces are rad. They get so much reach for artists. They've like built the whole marketplace. Like Nifty Gateway catches some like, flack here and there, but because they use credit cards, but also they use credit cards, which then like makes people kind of come in and now they're in crypto before they know it. So yeah, I think the range is great, and it's just great to see everybody's different approach. I think we're all just, whatever's most fun, that's what you should go do for whatever's most fun and interesting to you.
Incredible. Question about fun. Collaborations. How does collaborations work on a piece that is minted? Do both the people that made a piece, who owns, I don't fully understand myself, actually, who owns the single contract? Let's say if you and me collaborated on a piece, we mint it. Who minted it?
It depends on the contract.
Okay.
You could build a contract, and it's top secret, but some people are building contracts for platforms where you'll be able to split royalties and split sales and things. But you could build a contract with multiple CEO or different addresses that basically tell it to distribute. The cool thing, I wish like us artists were all digging way deeper into the technology behind it, because the cool thing is you can do just about anything. Ethereum is like programmable money. So I could say like we do a collab, and I could tell it every time someone buys it, the previous owner gets 10% of the sale, Don gets 10%, and Joy gets 10%. You could do whatever you want. It's like the possibilities unlimited, but you have to be willing to write in Solidity code, which is a kind of a nightmare.
Nice. Any other feedback about that? Like when it comes to collaborating with other artists or do any of you collaborate with other folks? Or is that something that it's mostly a space where people just work on their own individual projects and put them out there for the world?
I've done a couple of collabs, and I think I have 2 collabs on Super. Was whoever minted it just kind of is based on hey, are the collectors that follow you going to be more interested in this, or the ones that follow me? And then as soon as a piece sells, we just kind of split it down the middle, and then if a secondary sale happens, we would do the same. So
nice.
that's kind of how I did it.
Nice. Yeah, that's like that totally works. On like an as needed basis, you'll just split it. Like, oh, we got a new sale.
Totally.
Here you go. Split it. Got it. So you can like take it into your own hands. You don't have to have it be an automated process. You could be like, we agree that we're gonna do this thing.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I like Joy's idea of it contracted right in, because that makes it really easy. You should like start a company building contracts for artists.
That's a
I was
great
gonna say
idea.
exactly the same thing. Yeah. Well, yeah,
I'll be
Joy's
hollering at you.
I want every artist to have their own damn contracts.
Joy gang.
You heard it here, folks, live.
There's definitely instructions. OpenSea has lots of instructions how to do it, but
Wow.
it takes some effort. But yeah, there's some rad stuff you can do. If you go look at some of the crypto art games that happened in early 2018, we were flipping hot potatoes and trading Van Goghs and all kinds of weird stuff. But there was a lot of contract experiments at the time.
Is it true that we can basically turn anything into a collectible? So I'll give an example.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many, but like I was thinking, I do a lot of AR filters for Instagram, for Facebook, and I was thinking of maybe giving like, I have it out public for a little bit, and then I decide I'm gonna make it an exclusive right that you can now own the AR filter, and it only works. Is that something that I could do as a creator, in this space, or is that a weird thing?
I think you could. I think it'd be rad, but you'd have to figure out technically how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like intellectually you can. It seems like you could tokenize anything, but there needs to be a way to, like, it has to have some sort of like footprint, like some sort of tangible footprint that you can visualize either on a marketplace or whatever. But
yeah,
like people, like Super Rare now is, obviously you can tokenize GLB format. So, we got 3D objects as a result of.
Holy crap.
Giant Swan and I were among the first 9 that tokenized those on Super Rare, and we built a VR gallery and everything for it, and connected it to VR chat, and it was really just a super weird thing because you're sitting here sculpting this, you don't have to render it, and it's just it becomes this whole different thing. I think that the next big thing is going to be tokenizing real-time assets of some sort. I think would be cool. Some sort of constantly shifting, non-looping sort of idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this week Beeple shared that that's actually what he's going to be doing on, I forgot which platform, but it's going to be a piece that changes based off of the outcome of the election.
Yeah, he's doing it on Nifty Gateway, and I'm stoked about that.
Wait, what were you saying, Glass Crane? There was something deeper there.
About what?
You were saying you could tokenize like a real-time asset. Oh yeah, like something you could interact with.
Yeah, like something you can interact with that does all the rendering, possibly in a server somewhere. I don't really know.
Like Render Cloud or something.
Yeah, like especially with like Unreal 5 coming out.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how that's
all
going to work.
Game, you could own the whole like level or
because like crypto voxels and stuff, you have tokenized essentially plots of land with its own builder and its own assets.
Yeah.
Like there's people, there's this dude, his name's Blau. He's like a pretty famous EDM artist, and he just joined Super Rare and is killing it. And what he's doing is collaborating with visual artists, and he's also creating a song specifically for that token and then tokenizing them together. So it's like,
whoa,
cool.
As a musician, that's huge because he's essentially turning his music that, he would previously only be able to sell, say on Bandcamp for 99 cents a song. He's getting, I don't know, I think he got like $15,000 for that token. And it's, a song that he worked hard on. It's awesome,
So then that brings up another question. Oh, Lucas, did you have a question? You said about to say something.
No, I was thinking about minting a VR experience. I think that's the future for me, no? Like you can sell at least a simple VR experience, but it will be amazing, no? I don't know if it's possible because the current limits, like 50 megabytes, is little low, but I hope in the future we can see that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking about you can attach unlockables to your tokens on some platforms, can't you? So one way of doing it would be creating a token that is a key, and that key gives you access to an executable VR experience. But the experience itself isn't going to be on the blockchain, you know. But then neither are a lot of these files. Like 3D files isn't actually on the blockchain, is it? It's just the metadata is. But that's one way of doing it. That's a sort of a workaround. But you could also have like somewhere like Somnium Space or another metaverse project where you have a parcel of land, and if you own a specific token, you have access to that parcel. And then Somnium Space worlds that they're releasing early next year are going to be independent Unity SDK experiences. So they could be fully functional games that are only accessible by you who has the NFT. So it's going to be very, very soon that we're going to see that tokenized, like immersive experiences.
Yeah.
One way or the other. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really cool seeing that unfold.
That was a good point, Metageist, that like you can tokenize anything conceptually, but it's not actually on the blockchain yet. Like this is all conceptual, except for Avastars. Jim's built Avastars into the blockchain, so actually the SVG code is uploaded into the chain and can be decoded. And this is a big problem. Like you can conceptually say, I've minted a whole room, or I've minted a joy, and you own it and you can take it into any world, but you actually still can't until you can decentralize the storage and stuff. So more recently, I'm going to decentralize all the joys in all their 3D files, so that wallets or different experiences can access them. But it's still not quite like Avastars has done it. Jim's pioneering that, like the whole thing.
Jim's insane.
Yeah, Jim rules.
Hearing those ideas, that kind of I noticed that Adobe Aero now allows you to have QR codes. So you could build this experience up to 50 megabytes on a free app, Adobe Aero, and then you could have a QR code. And then maybe, is that something like what you were saying, Metageist, where like maybe I put an image that I mint, and the image is a key to access the QR code?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I was thinking in VR, but that's a nice. It's another really nice way you could have a token that becomes a window or whatever, or a room that you can walk around with your. I mean, it's only a matter of time now. Within a year, we're going to have some decent glasses, I think. So, AR is going to, AR or XR or whatever, they're going to merge, right? But it's going to be very, very close. Yeah, that would work. That's exactly the same sort of. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look up how to do that. I don't really understand how I can take an image and make it a key. I don't know what that means. Like,
figure it out, Colin Allen.
Yeah, and then tell us.
You got it.
Pioneer it for us.
I'll look into it.
We always need more people out here minting and trying things.
Yeah, I like to try to like push like what's possible with the current tools, and then break it many, many, many times, and then I come out with something new. And then it's like, whoa, we haven't seen this before. I'm like, I know, let's keep breaking it some more. I want to see what else we can get out of it.
That's what
the monster here.
This space is full of that sort of person, really. Like we're all here because we're excited by the future, and I got like it's a real optimistic, futurist sort of humanist global community that comes out of this technology because it's inherently decentralized. And we are already, I mean, how much time does anyone spend looking at the phone? We're already pretty digital. So it's just trajectory. We should just like bow down to the machine.
I'm with you. I worship data and robots and AI. Machine learning. The algorithm. All hail the algorithm. Question for you all. Is there any books that you read that like have inspired you to, that inspire you in your work? Anything that you read, any books that people listening to this now could be like, oh, I would love to read that. If that's inspired this kind of artist, I would want to know that.
I read Be Here Now like every month or so, or Zen Mind Beginner's Mind pretty much like every month. And then maybe every year I read Be Here Now by Ram Dass, which is really, go check those books out. But definitely Zen Mind Beginner's Mind.
Thank you,
Rest
Joy.
in peace.
Yeah.
What was yours, class?
I just said rest in peace, Ram Dass.
Oh, amazing. What about you, Giant Swan? Are you a reader?
I love finding art that I loved as a younger person, and then chasing up what those artists are doing now. Some of them more popular than others. I've got a big collection of Jamie Hewlett's books that I just love flipping through and seeing his art evolve over time. On those original Gorillaz albums, you used to be able to chuck them in your CD-ROM, and it was like a flash game. It would come up and you could explore like a parking lot and the band and stuff, and it was basically DVD extras before DVDs.
Oh wow!
Wow.
And I still go back to that experience now when I can, because I realized as a young person, specifically like doing that with those CDs were probably shapes pretty much everything I do now. So yeah, that's my go-to.
Amazing. That's super cool. Yeah, Lucas.
I was reading, like Joy said, I will say that reading something like Be Here Now or something like that is like the base of being quiet and attentive to the day, no, the day to day. But in terms of VR and stuff, I'm reading a book by an artist called Ito Stejerl that she has she has a video. You can search for it on YouTube. It's called Bubble Vision. It's a lecture of her.
Yeah.
She's an artist, a contemporary artist working with new media and different platforms. And that video is about virtual reality, and she's like a genius. She's like, okay, I take this and this and these spheres of knowledge and mix it together. And I highly recommend it. Bubble Vision by Ito Stejerl. They're 20 minutes and it's amazing. And we also have a book that I'm reading now that is called Duty Free Art, that is very relevant to the crypto art space because it talks about a lot of things, but it talks especially about duty free, like these giant storages of art that are living like in heaven, I don't know, tax-free heavens, no? Like they are of no one, they are in like a gray area of existence. No, they are like perpetually moving from one place to another because they are not in a country, but they are in that places. No, so there is like these huge museums of art that you cannot see, that are completely opaque to the public. That is the opposite to what's happening with crypto. No, the thing that I can watch art of my favorite artist in high resolution. It's amazing, man. It's the first time, no? So yeah, Ito Stejerl.
Amazing. Metageist, are you a reader as well?
I'm a listener.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, my focus is pretty terrible sometimes. I find myself rereading a page over and over again, so I've kind of given up on it now. I'm an Audible fan. The only one that comes to mind really that's quite relevant, and it's a cliche, is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. I read that. I read it a long time ago and didn't remember much of it, and I've read it again recently. And that yeah, I think that's really cool. It's very accessible. It's not especially deep, but it is where the term metaverse was coined in this context. And
beautiful.
And it's really fun. And I like to think about where we're heading, and that one is that's a very sort of there's a lot of sci-fi tropes, and they kind of come from there, I think. And
they do.
And I like the idea of being able to teleport around and to do all sorts of things that you can't do in the real world in the future in the metaverse. Playing with that is really fun. I mean, it's a badass cyberpunk like romp, but it's really fun.
Okay.
Nice. Is that the same author of Ready Player One?
No, it's not.
Okay, sorry. That's Ernst Cline. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. But Ernst Cline's definitely inspired by Snow Crash, I think, as well as lots of 80s nostalgia.
Right. Amazing.
I feel like we almost live in Snow Crash now. It's like totally everyone's like a personality with all these things going on. Everyone's like throwing digital coins around. It's like
yeah. It just takes a bit of imagination for it to be as like high fidelity as it is.
Yeah. It's definitely like a pretty imaginative one at this moment.
Yeah. Like it's without all the audio issues you inevitably have when you try and meet up with people in VR. It's still very early days, but I love that it's early days. I like that it's janky, and I like that photogrammetry looks a bit dodgy and things break. It's fun.
Yeah.
There's a
best
product
memory alive.
that there's a product that Adobe just like sneak peeked at their conference. I want to get my hands on it. It does very, very nice photogrammetry with just your phone, and it's got a super simple UI, and it's going to live inside of the Adobe Capture app.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. I use Capture.
Yeah, I watched their demo, and I'm like, my jaw just dropped. He had a shoe with like pretty neutral lighting in his room, and you hover your phone near it, it detects the object, and then you get to draw a bounding box in 3D space. It maps it nicely, and so now it knows where it's going to capture from, and then it floats all these blue circles around that box, and they're timers. So you just move your phone to that location.
Oh, nice.
And it's time, done. Move to the next location, done. And then it does all the processing in Adobe's cloud, and then it spits out to you a beautiful textured and the geometry for it. It looks unbelievable. I saw it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a normal thing that everyone has soon. Oh God.
Totally.
It's gonna like, and they're just doing it with the standard camera. Like they weren't even using the LiDAR bits. Right. So it's gonna be nuts. We're accelerating into the matrix.
I think you're right. It's exponential, isn't it? It's going to be this sudden shooting up into space. And the Facebook glasses are supposed to be. I think it's Facebook.
It is, yeah.
The glasses are going to be constantly mapping everything around you. So there's this massive Facebook Big Brother nightmare you really think about. But at the same time, it's just going to be creating this constantly updated photogrammetry version of the real world. That and if you can overlay that over, like we're right at the edge of these worlds. Just like,
how do you all feel about Facebook? Let's get it out. We're the XR folks, and Facebook's putting a lot of bet on XR. So we're kind of like thought leaders. So we probably can actually help dictate what they do. So what do you want it to be like?
I wish they would make a premium headset that's for making art. It is a bit unfortunate. I keep trying to shift my workflow it's like they go 3 steps forward and like 2 steps back with every headset. Right. It's like a little bit like, oh, this is better. This is better. Oh man, now I can't quite see in here. And now you have to go through the pain of learning. Like this is like really great headset, but it's like kind of like a nightmare right now to relearn it and adjust the like downgrades of it.
What is it?
I would rather pay $2,000 for like a badass like made one that like worked really well for making art, but I appreciate that it's gotten like simpler and easier. Yeah.
What is it that you don't like about it then? I haven't really paid any attention to the Quest 2 yet.
It's just I think it's just the fact that they kind of like downgrade materials and stuff, but there's like so many upgrades and then like the fact that you kind of have a battery pack now on your face and you're losing the Rift S. So just the idea of the PC VR kind of being melted away.
Yeah, I was really bummed that Adobe Medium doesn't work on this thing yet.
But I really praise them for just like forcing our hand and to keep like changing it and be like, no, it needs to be this way. And as it gets more powerful, once there's Medium in there, then there'll be no reason to plug into a PC.
Exactly. And that's probably going to happen sooner than later. And then we're going to be in this metaverse in here. And,
I'm not stoked to have them in our house and stuff with how much, but they pretty much mapped my whole life at this point, I'm sure. And my headset's like always plugged in, so I feel like it's just like
everyone was
Mark
wondering.
Zuckerberg watches me for fun.
Everyone was wondering why the media or why the Quest 2 is so affordable. It's because they're selling all of your data.
Absolutely. Your data is super valuable.
They're like, oh yeah, you could take it for free. Here you go, keep it.
I guess some hackers figured out a way around that Facebook authentication with the Quest 2.
Oh, I don't know much about it. What happened to them? Did they die?
No, they seem to be kicking. I just read the Google card today. Like a team of hackers bypasses Facebook on Oculus Quest 2. Don't know much about it, but check it out.
I will definitely check that out. They're gonna be furious.
There's a Discord. I'm in there and I'm not dead yet. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's that.
You're not a hologram.
Facebook hologram. Yeah, Facebook droid replacement.
Oh my God! Prove that you're Joy right now.
Make something.
I'm Mark Zuckerberg.
Really. Mr. Anderson.
Hello, Don. I am not good at impersonations. I got nothing here.
Wow. What do you guys think about just throwing out some more ideas here, but like contact lenses as a smart device? Far future, further. We're not even having glasses yet, but what do you guys think? Is that cool? Is that
It's definitely cool, but I can't touch my eyes. It like wigs me out, so I'll never be able to do it.
Man, I used contact lenses for several years. In fact, I began using the hard ones, and they are hell, man. They are the worst thing in the fucking world. But
Wow.
I think that it will be best. Maybe they can project the image onto your eyes, like that's a good one. I think if technology is not body intrusive, it's far better. No, I don't think that too many people will like that post-human thing of getting a chip into the eyes.
Right.
It's kind of invasive.
Throw another one out there.
Yeah, the whole Neuralink thing's a little suspect.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Neuralink.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Neuralink? Yay, nay, weird, fun, cool,
I
bad?
think
Too soon, too
Neuralink
soon.
will get
All of
Neuralink
the
will be.
above.
Yeah. It seems like Neuralink would get us to would get here before contacts. Like glasses before glasses can get small enough. Although I do Apple is, aren't they, experimenting with projecting onto your eye?
Yeah, they just bought a company. I forgot the name of them,
But
but
like burn someone's eyes.
yeah, they bought this company that makes very, very tiny plastics that are high resolution screens, and they're like super sharp images. So they just bought the whole company. So guaranteed that's the material they'll be using for the glasses that they're going to be making. It has to be. It's like it looks just like it.
What company bought this?
Sorry.
What company bought that?
Let me. Apple bought the leading company making tiny plastic high resolution displays. It's like it's a guarantee, and they still have some product videos out. So maybe look at them before Apple rips them from the internet.
There's a couple companies like that working on some really crazy stuff. Like I remember Magic Leap. I haven't heard anything from them. They had a pretty big release slated, and then somebody bought them up and they flipped off the radar.
Yeah, they I think I heard they burned all their cash really quickly. They got a little excited, and their investors were like, "Here's a bunch of money. You're gonna make this in like this many years, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna have a final product." Then didn't happen, and they're like, "All right, you're not doing Series B funding or C or whatever they're on." So yeah, they're a little ambitious.
You've only got to play with a HoloLens to realize how early we are with this thing. If anyone's played with that, but it's like the tiniest little window of like overlay, and beyond that, it's just a heavy wired thing. Yeah.
Oh, there's a 3 that's out now.
No, this the second one I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's still very clunky.
Yeah, we're in like the PlayStation 1 days of like of this space that we're in here. So it's
definitely the cave people.
The headset on the face is going to be that meme of the 80s mobile phone, right? It's just like a giant thing with a backpack. It's the equivalent of that. That's how I see it.
I was going to ask you guys, when do you think phones are going to go away?
Never.
Yeah, never.
I think they're just slowly going onto our wrist, and then you'll have your glasses and you'll look down and your information will
screen.
Yeah. And that would be kind of an interaction point. I think could definitely be where we're headed. But I think just the phone, I don't know. It works really well for what it does. I don't know if glasses can get there.
I know. Hopefully this is time stamped, and then in the 10, 15 years, like we can look back and be like, wow, remember when we thought?
We'll all be like on Elon Musk's Neuralink, and then we'll be plugged into the Teslas, and we'll be the robot taxis.
We'll just be cars. What a disappointing future.
We'll Neuralink in and be like, you like driving people around. Get in the car and go.
You're gonna be a car. I'm gonna be a car when I'm older.
Autopilot doesn't quite work. We need somebody sitting there. So use those Neuralink users.
I guess Elon was touting how all Tesla owners eventually they're gonna turn Teslas into a fleet that can essentially just pick people up.
Yeah.
But
cool they need the Neuralink so that they can have somebody to hold the wheel just slightly.
And emotions.
I'm actually riding in one right now. I have a Tesla and it's glorious.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Is it an auto right now?
It's not an auto. My fiance's driving.
Nice.
She's doing a great job, though, so it feels like auto.
Nice.
But
yeah.
No hate for Tesla. I love Teslas. That's my same car.
Oh,
They're so great.
But,
You can never go back.
yeah, there's no going back.
That's incredible. That's definitely on my list of something.
No
I would
hate
like.
on them. I'm just playing with the Neuralink. They're not trying to control our brains.
What do you guys think about Cybertruck? Are you a fan of Cybertruck? Anyone?
It's
Yeah.
hideous.
I am.
I love weird things. Can't you tell?
Amazing. I was going to ask, just kind of one thing I want to kind of wrap up with all of everybody here is about any advice you'd give, like that you wish you might have heard when you were getting into the space, things, could really help somebody as they're getting interested in the crypto art space and they want to do this and they're like, and you learned something along your way, or, maybe it's a week ago, maybe it's a couple of years ago, any advice that you'd want to give that next generation, that person who's like, whoa, I'm ready. I want to get into this.
I will say that as a newcomer, that don't be afraid of asking other artists about prices, about good practices, about everything. Coming from a traditional, the traditional art scene, I see a lot of more openness in the general here in crypto. So don't be afraid to ask. I was lucky enough to get in my the way with people like they are very successful now or very like long-term artists that write to me and say, hey, your work is beautiful, but maybe for some other artists this will not happen. But don't be afraid, because like the family thing you said is real here. It's like, okay, you have this net of creators worldwide, like working all to support each other in a way. No, of course there is a lot of competition and things like in every market, but it's very democratic, very open. I don't know, the knowledge is like flowing, free flowing.
That's great advice. So don't be afraid to ask artists, and it's an open community right now. Solid advice. Thank you, Lucas.
I had a conversation with a young guy maybe 2 days ago, and he felt like he'd missed the boat on the scene already, and that things are too far along. And something I pulled him up on was that he had to, like, being new to the scene, there's a lot of big numbers flying around, a lot of big personalities, but there's room for your art. You need to stop comparing yourself to others and focus on your art journey. Like, if you're an artist that's ready to sell your work, great. If you're not, that's fine, but continue growing, continue chasing art that you love, making it your own, whatever it is, keep growing. Being in the scene doesn't necessarily mean that, like things are gonna happen, but it doesn't matter if they don't. It's so cliche to say it's okay to fail on anyone's journey, but it really is. So experiment and embrace that, because all the other artists around you are doing the exact same thing.
Thank you so much, Giant. That's some solid advice of just like, going out there, keep growing. It's okay to fail. Yeah, this is going to help some people. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in? Any advice they would give to an earlier version of themselves?
Those are both solid pieces of advice from Lucas and Giant Swan. I would say the same. Just you should definitely try and eliminate as much as you can out of your way from your art practice. And in life, you can only do, maybe if you're lucky, one or two things really well. And if that's art, you should just do that as much as you can. And if you're posting it and selling it, that's great, because you can learn more and you can grow that way. But yeah, don't rush yourself. But yeah, always make sure you're focusing on making art as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's easy to get distracted. You got to really say no.
Thank you, Joy. That's, some really good advice there. Just like, keep practicing your art. You got to do it, especially if it's something that you feel you have some capacity to do, you want to grow in. It's all worth it.
And please have as much fun as possible.
Sorry?
please have as much fun as possible.
Oh yeah, that's
With your life.
that's mandatory.
I think the crypto stuff can seem like a bit of a high bar of entry and a bit alienating, but actually the scariest thing is putting your art out into the world anyway, no matter like, whether it's on Instagram or whether you're you're doing graffiti out in the street or whatever. I think like if you're already in a position where you're willing to put your art out into the world, then it's only a couple of extra steps, and the opportunities far outweigh any sort of challenges you're going to have.
That is well spoken. That's so true. There's a lot of opportunity in the space. What about yourself? Oh, I think we're missing Glass. I want to hear what his advice was.
Everyone is really probably just a second away from their biggest breakthrough, and they really don't realize it. You're just like one artwork away from like the whole world being all, this is brilliant, this is amazing, you know? Like not everything you make is a banger. It's just like you're gonna make a lot of stuff and you're like not super stoked, but then other people might see it and be super stoked. So I think that was solid by the guy saying people should share it more for sure.
Nice. All right, I guess I'll reach out to Lady Phoenix here and see if you wanted to jump on and see if there's any questions that we were missing from the chat, anything along those lines. Yeah. Oh, I think you're muted still. I think you're still muted. She says, hold on 1 second. Hang tight, folks. If you're here if you're joining us, again, this is like, we're talking XR and more specifically with crypto art and XR for the Crypto Art Week. If you have questions now, I'm assuming we're going to go into Q&A. So you should probably start flooding the words on the machine with questions and inquiries that you might have. And Lady Phoenix is going to be like, yep, this is what we're going to do. That's what I'm assuming, because I've watched the other streams. Still not hearing any audio, so I'm going to keep on talking. So what we have here...
Can you write notes?
We have a lot of creators here that are very friendly and very welcome to open up and tell you about this space. I feel...
We can see you. Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, we can see you. Sorry. So what it feels like is that the folks that are here in this call right now, I know we've all met here now virtually, and pretty much that's as close as we'll meet for the foreseeable future. Seems like all of us, you could probably reach out to us directly if you have questions or are curious about this space. I'm assuming that just by the fact that you're all here sharing this amazing wisdom. So maybe while Lady Phoenix is jumping on.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
My audio was in my AirPods because I was walking around. Have a day job, so doing the day job while being admin to this. So I put you guys on AirPods. But
gotcha.
Please finish your thought, Don.
Oh yeah, I guess the thought was I was gonna ask everybody about where they could connect with you as a creator, because like maybe like they're like, all right, that one thing that Giant said really resonated with me, or that thing that Joy said. Who is this Joy? I want to know him. Lucas, Metageist, Glass. So if you want to share the best way that people could contact you, I think is what I was going to ask.
I think that's a great idea. If you guys' DMs are open for appropriate questions, and maybe even dinner dates, if that's your thing, then yeah, definitely throw your socials out where you want to be contacted. Me personally, on Instagram, I'm Yes Universe, and on Twitter, I'm Universe Contemporary or Crypto Art Advisor.
Thank you, Lady Phoenix.
And Coldy is at Coldy, everybody knows that.
You can Google me or Google Joy World. And then I'm at John Orion Young, JohnOrionYoung.
Yeah, I'm Twitter is the easiest. Twitter or Instagram for me, but Googling Metageist, it's a made-up word, so you don't really get much else except for my weird art. So that's always a good first step.
Nice. So if I search Metageist on Twitter.
Yeah. Metageist VR on Twitter. Yeah, and yeah, I've been a promoter of gigs for years, and I find that again, I'm a bit of a community builder, so I'm well up for helping people. So yeah, come to me if you want to submit any advice at all.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes. In my case, if you put lucasaguirre.com, you go to my Insta because I'm developing my web. But in the Insta, you have a link tree and you have all the stuff. I'm curious, how do you say Aguirre, my last name? How do you say in English? It's like Aguirre. I don't know how to say it.
I'll go with Aguirre.
Aguirre. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Aguirre.
Aguirre. Okay.
But how do you say it? How is it meant to be pronounced? Aguirre?
It's Basque. It's from it's Aguirre with the
Aguirre.
Aguirre.
You need a
Yes.
whole lot of breath for that. A lot of breath and long tongue. Aguirre.
Yeah, Aguirre. There is a movie called Aguirre, the Wrath of God. That is a awesome movie by Klaus Kinski. You have to watch it. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know who may need that date, but it's okay. Just saying.
Giant Swan, can they contact you or?
Oh yeah, of course you can. Yeah, if you have to.
He's like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
wait this one out.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna say anything.
I was
Don't
just like
contact
looking
me.
out the window. It's like, hey, it's light now.
Oh, nice.
Outside.
Yeah, you can catch me on Instagram, Giant Swan is one word, or Twitter, _giant_swan.
Amazing.
Super. So there are some comments. And again, Don, I think you've been really good at fielding some of these comments from the chat. But Ernesto has put in a few times. Check out Peter Diamandi's. I think it's Diamantes. 6 Ds of exponentials, which is decentralization, deception, disruption, demonetization, dematerialization, and democratization.
Oh, I can make a comment about that.
I know there's some other like D you can throw in there that would be sensitive nicely.
Yeah, that's from his book. He has a book called Why the Future is Faster Than You Think. And he talks, and each chapter goes into each of those Ds and explains how those things are now and what they're going to be like. It's a really good read I see why Ernesto's putting that here in the comments. That's like totally aligned with what we're all doing and what we're getting prepared for this crypto. They talk about crypto, they talk about, AR and VR. It's a very relevant read. So Ernesto, I know him as Imaginary Lobo on Instagram. So thank you, Imaginary Lobo. That was awesome. That's a great book read, too. Yeah, but yeah, if you don't want to read the book, if you just look up Peter Diamandis 6 Ds of exponentials, it paints a pretty cool future for humans, which is also nice. It's got a positive look if the right people act now. But yeah, does anybody else have any comments about those Peter Diamandis Ds?
There's also
Made a note of it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Metagrace.
No, I just I made a note of that. I'm gonna check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. And there's a comment here from Samuel that says Super Rare has a file size limit of 50 megs for 3D objects. Not sure if there's really a size limit if you use your own contracts. So this is really more for Joy.
Yeah. Basically, you can't upload anything into the blockchain like art-wise, really. So really, you're kind of just linking you're linking your stuff and saying like this token is attached to this artwork. The way to make it decentralized, make your artwork decentralized, would be to upload it to something like IFPS, or so International File Protocol System, or Intergalactic File Protocol System. So, and there's a company called Airweave, and there's one called Fleek. And these are ways that you can put your art into a decentralized storage. So basically you're putting your art across thousands of people's computers inside of their hard drives. And in that way it's decentralized. So really any file size you want, the sky's the limit, but you're not really uploading to the blockchain unless you're Jim uploading Alistar's code to the blockchain. So really there's no limit if you're building your own thing. You're just kind of referencing this token represents this artwork. That makes sense.
Cool. And thanks guys for throwing on the mute when you're not talking. There's just a little bit of feedback, and I think it's because we're all so many with lots of stuff electronically happening in the background. So thanks for that. Another quick comment that somebody made. So that's, I mean, Jim was on our very first panel. And I feel like we need to do like a super panel, you know, because all of you have thrown out really awesome ideas and have had unique approaches, unique in like approaches that make sense, right? There's a lot of people talking about crypto art in a way that it feels really inaccessible, and they make it like this big confusing thing. And it's like, guys, it's not that hard. Like it's like actually more simple than you're explaining it. And if it's hard for you to understand, then let's have a conversation about that, but let's keep it down to the ABCs of crypto. We don't need to make it hard for artists to understand or make it feel like they can't get on. I don't know if that was a tactic or strategy of exclusivity in the beginning, but now I feel like it needs to be a little bit more like, hey, everyone, this is how all artists can win. And I love your point on that, Joy, of just like, you need to come into the game on your own contract first. I'm a big fan of that. I think especially if you already have art that you've been doing and things that you've been known for, so it can be a part of your personal brand, just put one on there. It doesn't have to be, quote, your best work. It doesn't have to even be something you want to sell, right? You could put something out there that has, you know, a crazy price on it because you don't want to sell it, or if you want to see if somebody really values the work at that amount, right? But you could put it on there and not have any plans to sell it, but just putting your flag in the ground and saying, in this new space, in this new art world, in this like Web3, here I am as a sovereign individual. Here I am as a sovereign artist. Amazing. And I'm making it known that I'm here to represent me. So 100 years from now, when we call the records back and kids want to talk to you, your kids want to, sorry, like nobody ever calls me. Okay, 100 years from now, when your kids, you know, want to spin you up or call back the record on who you were, they do it from your literal DNA of how you came into the space, as opposed to a sponsored introduction to the space through anyone else's platform. I think that a lot of artists miss out on that. I'm actually getting ready to mint my first artwork. Yay. I was talking to Colby last night. Thank you. When we were doing the debrief, and I'm like, oh, here I am, you know, doing Crypto Art Week, and I haven't actually minted anything as an artist. Like, I need to get my stuff together and walk the walk, right? Like, I have all this other experience, but I actually don't have the experience of minting. So I'm kind of considering, should I do that live for all the newbies who want to know what that process is, you know, like to walk through that? Cool. Yep. So I've got the consensus. Yeah,
absolutely.
What are you thinking on that, Meta guys?
Absolutely. That's really well put, and it's inspired me to definitely look into it. You reckon OpenSea is the way forward for most people, do you think? Is that something to look at?
Go ahead.
Oh, I think OpenSea is great. It's funny, whenever I first was going to make my contract, I met Devin, who's the CEO of OpenSea, and they were just starting OpenSea. And we were like, we're going to mint Joys in OpenSea. And we had this whole idea. And at that time, they were going to kind of control the contract, and I'd have to ask them to mint things. So I kind of backed out, and I built that hot potato contract. And although that wasn't the best way to go about it, it was like you said, Lady Phoenix is like a great way to just put a stake in the ground and say, like, here I am, I'm making my art here, and it's $1. Does anyone want to play? And then, like, if they did, they made money, and it was really great. But yeah, I think that's really brilliant to just, like you said, I think you're absolutely right. We've made it very complex sounding, but this is way easier to just download, like put the MetaMask extension on your computer, get some Ethereum, and then like mint your artwork. Is so much easier than like hustling around a bunch of paintings to a bunch of different galleries, which I've done so many times. And I've had huge, like, make my own art shows and tried to hustle like paintings and prints and things. But this is like a way for everybody, every artist in the world, to finally be able to put their art out and sell it with no barriers.
I think too, really quickly, like just to further expound on that just a little bit, is that as we move forward into the future, sovereignty, I think, will become more and more important. And there's no greater space to explore sovereignty than with immigrants, right, which we've seen, and it's been disastrous. And they're trying to do their best. So there's no harsh critique there. It's just kind of not, it's kind of been a shit show. Just, honestly, internationally, it's just been a shit show, especially here in the United States. But I think a space where, we could use models of sovereignty successfully is in this creative space, especially the creative digital space. If we can provide some sort of sovereignty for artists, right? Whether they're in partnership with galleries or they're, again, sovereign and acting on their own, I think we can use those very simple engagements with artists and their own sovereignty and apply that to other spaces where applicable, of course. That brings me to another question for all of you and anyone in the audience. What do you think about social media insurance or avatar insurance? Probably better said avatar insurance. I'll explain. So I'm a huge nerd. I have all these things that I do in my off time that people don't know about just because I haven't shared it. But one thing that I've been looking into mostly this year is avatar insurance. Initially, it started out as social media insurance, as I saw a lot of my artist friends getting booted from Instagram because of their opinions or their artworks that actually weren't risque in any way, shape, or form. It just seemed like, they've made up they've made up a reason to enforce TOS on people and say, okay, now you're off the platform, or now this work is taken down. And I like Instagram a lot. I've built everything I'm doing on Instagram. I've organized shows. I organized my first shows through DMs. So again, there's no harsh critique of them as a community or as a technology. The critique is more in the sense of, let's look at the ways that we're enforcing the TOS, right? And see if we can do better for the community, right? And so then I thought, well, just like car insurance, when you have an accident, you're covered. Why can't we have avatar insurance? So when you're accidentally wiped, right, or your work is taken down, there's some sort of compensation for that, an immediate, resolution for that, just as it is with car insurance or even life insurance. Like, if you really think about it, you were giving a lot of future questions and opportunities to ideate on these future technologies, Don, and I really appreciate that. Well, let's take it a step further and say well, technically, if Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whomever these platforms are, decide to kill off your digital persona or personality, that's a life. That's a type of digital lifeblood. You've built your work around that. You've monetized that. They don't have a right to decide if your livelihood is appropriate or not. I mean, as long as you're not bringing any harm to anyone in any way, shape, or form, you should be able to do what it is you want to do if people are into it. If your audience, your customer base, your client base is into it, then they should not be able to dictate, what you do on one hand, right? But then this goes back to what Joy is saying is get off the platforms and be sovereign and do your own thing so you don't have to worry about that. And so now I'm in the middle with it saying, well, we've built our lives on these platforms. It's a little bit unrealistic to just pull the plug and say, peace out Twitter, peace out Instagram, peace out Facebook, screw you TikTok, I'm on to something else because I'm doing my own thing, I'm independent. Okay, great in theory, but in terms of making money and still having that connection with your community, it's really not the best way. But what if you could still stay with the platform, but have insurance for your digital persona? What do you think about an insurance company for your avatars?
I think that makes an awful lot of sense, and I hadn't really considered, but incredibly important. Yeah, I know that in London there's a company that celebrities go to get a full body scan of their avatar, so that they have ownership over a likeness that will be used in the future. People have got holograms of dead celebrities, right, and they're making lots of money off of it. But you've reminded me of that, and then that's a very successful company already, even though these avatars aren't really doing anything.
What do you know? Can you name that company?
No, I can't remember who it is. I'm sure you better find it. No, I heard about it during a conversation, but I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that in particular around celebrities, it makes a lot of sense. But I want us to think further as digital creatives that what we're putting out, right, into the metaverse and all universes, has just as much value, because now we're making real money. If people are able to go on any of these platforms, Super Rare, Nifty, whatever, and make, $50,000 from their work, like Trevor Jones did, or maybe $1 million from their work, like maybe Beeple will do with Nifty, right? That has value. And even if it's $50, even if it's $1, there was an exchange and a contract and an agreement there, and that has value and should be protected. So, while I'm not going to get 3D scanned because my looks and my body and my persona in that way need to be protected, my online personality, though, and my online investment in the community needs to be protected. And even my investment into these platforms, because artists invest into Super Rare. Super Rare doesn't necessarily make the artist. I love those guys over there, Zach, John, everybody. We're real cool. Love you guys. But let's be super clear. If there were no artists to tokenize, then there would be no platform, right? Like Instagram does nothing for people, right? People make the value on Instagram. People bring all their creative talents to Instagram. Instagram exploits that in the form of the platform and in the form of their algorithm. But if the artists and creative people in general left Instagram as a whole, like if there was an exodus, Instagram would, right? The stock would fall. No one would be interested. It wouldn't be cute anymore.
I think crypto arts is the exodus from Instagram. We're kind of at the beginning of that, because they that's kind of the old model where they were exploiting people, and then like you said, they can be muted instantly and they go away, and then you've lost your whole livelihood, your whole existence. It's almost no different than just kind of, this is gruesome, but just killing somebody on the street or something. It's almost the same as killing somebody online in some ways. Not at all the same, but conceptually. You've muted, you've gotten rid of that person. And we've given all the power to Facebook essentially to mute us all at any time. And Snapchat, I guess, is the other one. I mean, TikTok, there's all pretty much just one company, and it's kind of being, run by a government to, and we're all kind of invested ourselves, our whole livelihood, our creativity into these things. And this is a beautiful thing, that we have an opportunity where we can build our own contracts, put our own art in a decentralized way. Nobody can mute you, because the thing with crypto is you don't trust, you verify. And so you shouldn't have to trust the platform to curate you and make sure you get your art sold. It's a dangerous game to get back into, to what we're kind of building up. But I like I said, I love it, and I want it to still exist, because we need all the artists to be able to onboard. There's no way everybody can just go around in the smart contract world and try to figure out how to code stuff. Artists need to be making art, so the platforms do have a value, but I fear that I don't want us to go back into having Facebook curate all the art again.
That's why we're here. I mean, it's this is an active step that we have to take if we don't want to be subject to just being muted as a identity. We have to, I mean, that's what's so attractive of the whole crypto art space for me right now, is just the fact that if you're on there, you have this you have a ledger of your work that's going to live much longer than us, because we're going to still have data well after I have dematerialized or take off my headset from this matrix that we call reality. And then, yeah,
you can't be deleted from the blockchain. Once you've minted the thing, it's there. Even if you burn the token, the history of minting it and then burning it's there.
Oh, nice.
It would, Fee, were you getting that this could actually be an NFT? It could be a smart contract. The insurance itself is a smart contract that upon your death, the legacy and the sovereignty of your brand and personal brand, for want of a better term, is then passed on, and it's all done through. It makes perfect sense. I haven't seen much of that actually in the NFT space personally, but there must be insurance already, right? Some people doing it. Anything like that? No.
This avatar insurance thing's blowing my mind.
They're not doing it like
so
that.
Far out. I love it.
They're not doing it like that. And I think Giant Swan, you wanted to say something, so I've talked a lot, so I'd love to pass the mic to you before I complete that.
No, I was just a lot of what Joy's been talking about in terms of going indie really resonates with me a lot, because I've been trying to move that way for the last few months with certain projects. And I think culturally in the crypto art space, we're probably at a point where, it's new and growing, but there are trends right now that mean I couldn't move my whole audience to solo contract if I tried right now. It was hard enough. At one point, I was minting one kind of work on Known Origin and another kind of work on Super Rare. It was hard enough getting those two audiences to talk to each other. I don't know how I could get that work found on OpenSea right now. If I was to mint something fresh and I have work that's on those contracts, but they don't get any traffic because there's another factor where we still fiercely lean on Twitter. If you're a new artist and you don't have a Twitter account and you come to crypto art and you're gonna, like, the first few months, man, like, you need to social network just as much as create. Like, and we're all like, well, yeah, make art, post it, everyone will love it. No one's gonna see it until you've got
Very true.
1,500 people on Twitter, right? Oof. And that's if you have, like, some people just aren't wired to do social media well. I'm not. I'm one of those people. I don't know how to interact the right way. I never know when to interject and be an asshole on Twitter. Like, that seems like to be the thing to do. I'm not sure.
I'm always wondering when I can jump into with the
yeah. It's like,
Twitter.
I don't have anything to add. Joy already said it, or you know, anything like that. So there are definitely little humps of where, like, the cool move. There's opportunity to make cool movements back towards that awesome idea of independence and stuff that you guys are discussing, which I really appreciate being able to talk to you guys with, because I'm totally on that journey at the moment. Because you see, like, crypto art drama is like a special flavor of coffee that is always available, and you know, like, depending on some of these spaces is dangerous to bank yourself into. You know, they're definitely embracing that. Getting off of a platform is something new people should definitely consider as well. That presence is so important.
I guess you can do both, right? You can work with platforms, but have your own, and slowly over time, organically, kind of like being maybe a band, and then but having the venues that you frequent, or but then again, you don't want to be replicating record labels, right? You need to have both. I guess over time we'll probably see, like, an evolution towards people having their own. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it boggles the mind trying to think about how you'd navigate that at the moment. How I would, anyway.
It's brutal.
The curation is like
OpenSea is brutal. Trust me, every day I want to go back. I want to go onto a platform. There's so many collectors who won't collect joys because they're on OpenSea. Different things like that. It's a super indie scene. So it is brutal, but it is like, yeah, whenever you depend on somebody else, you're kind of dependent on that person and or that company. So, but
so it works for you, right? It works for Josie.
The discoverability is so much better in Super Rare and everywhere else. But that's, yeah, it's definitely so like Giant Swan said, being out on Twitter and just being all new art is a good way to go about it, because discoverability is not there really, other than if you're on a platform and curated in.
That's a question that keeps coming up in the chat about what makes crypto art desirable, and I responded with, I think the art makes it desirable. I don't have another answer. Does anyone have another answer to that?
The artist and the relationship you get to have with them, I think, is key.
And their brand, their personal brand.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the art is like complete shite, and the artist knows that it's shite, and people looking know that it's shite, but the brand is so strong that it makes the shite very glittery and attractive.
Wow. Okay, right? That's so really important. Yeah.
You know, everyone knows you're collecting shite, but it's like, but this is the best shite. It glitters, it glows.
That's art,
even smelling like roses, you know, like
yeah.
People make up in their mind what value is, and I think that if you start out strong with the strong brand, it won't really matter the platform. And so to Giant Swan's point, I think that if folks are not really strong on building brand, or not really strong on, you know, communicating on these platforms, which, like, you know, a few years ago, you didn't need to have a PhD in like platform communications, right? So like, don't beat yourself up about it. I think that's another like,
wow,
hire someone out, you know, like someone, like we say, hey, community, this is a need. You may be a whatever artist who loves tokenizing your work, but OpenSea might be the best platform for you as a result of the combination of your practice. But you're killer at Twitter communication. Like, you are the person that people listen to. You know, your Twitter fingers are amazingly rapid, and you know, you've got a good consciousness, you know.
Just to support that idea, if you all know the musician Little Nas, he's a master of Twitter, and he used it to amass his fame. And basically what he did to make that song go so viral was he made a Reddit post, he made a Reddit subreddit saying, what's that one song that goes like, and he put his own lyrics to the song. He basically created all the content that allowed the platform to have the conversation around his song. And then he like created all these memes making fun of his song that people were mindlessly resharing because like, yeah, that's so stupid, and they're sharing it. But he was just like completely digital native, went full on, I'm going to utilize the fact of my awareness of brand and use of Twitter and basically network at, like, have you network for him, and you don't even think you're networking for him. You think you're making fun of him. You think you're resharing a meme. You think you're hearing like somebody else's rant on Reddit. No, it was all him with a giant puppet master and just like moving all the digital strings. And then it outcomes, you know, it gets a #1 song for like months. And so I think if you kind of repeat that process with crypto, you know, with yourself as a brand, and start doing really like guerrilla branding, integrate yourself in all these platforms. Like you're saying, you know, Lady Phoenix, how, you know, in our university days, like we didn't need to have a freaking degree in communication platform management. Yet that's like what all artists are having to do right now. It was not part of the plan, not part of the script. So yeah, there's that.
Would you guys pay? So say, because I've been bringing up the question of what does a crypto gallerist look like, right? Like, what do future galleries and gallerists look like for specifically digital artists and media artists, right? Would you give 20% to your gallery or gallerist if they handled communications for you successfully on all platforms? Because if you think about it now, none of the platforms actually handle communications. They only retweet.
Well, they all ignore it.
They don't actually do any promotion, but you give them between 15 and 20% for the honor of hosting your work on their contract and platform. So playing devil's advocate. And again, I'm about to mint my own work, so I'm not anti, right? I'm just providing, you know, divergent thought here. You know, for the sake of more innovation and the practice of not getting bogged down in one way of doing things.
I think you need to be really careful as an artist to, I mean, like, always be aware of your branding and stuff. Like, Joy is amazing at his branding, but he's sincere, and you're talking to Joy when you're interacting with him. I think if you take Joy out of that equation, his branding is not as personable and amazing as it, like actually, no, it is amazing, but it's an experience because I know you're on the other end of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it would be risky for like emerging artists to go, hey, someone else is going to talk to you for me. But keep buying my art though, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, when you talk to Joy, you're 100% are talking to me. I answer every tweet and everything with my own thumbs.
Just 500 likes and just keep replying.
Yeah, it's challenging though. Yeah, and I think we all struggle with that, putting ourselves out there. I agonize every reply and everything. I'm like, oh, is this okay to say? Or is this gonna make the person feel joyful and creative and, you know, want to do more art? But yeah, it's challenging. There's so much cool stuff happening now. We're in crypto art warp speed. So it's hard to
curation does help you get,
having a person would be helpful. I like Lady Phoenix's idea.
Yeah. Oh, there's a question come up here. It says, how do you get people to trust the platform you're using beyond just us early adopters who are like, all right, we're in it. You should do it. Like, how do we tell? Actually, I don't have an answer to this one. I don't really know. How do you get?
I was gonna say, sorry, maybe Meta guys can take that question and also add your point that you were going to add before we switched questions.
Oh God, yeah, my mind's gone completely blank now. You surprised me with that. Oh yeah, what I was saying was the galleries, the curators are really helpful. You know, to have someone else sort of right in your corner, and you know, to any degree. But at the same time, if you don't have that, you're going to have to be really on it with the social to cut through the noise. I think that was what I was going to say, something along those lines.
But if you got with a gallerist who said, okay, guys, I want like 20, 30%, part of the offer would be to, because keep in mind, so you're 20, 30% out of your cut to your gallerist, who's also curating your work, writing your editorial, you know, talking to collectors, you know, making that circle bigger. And then on top of that, they're saying, you also have to split the fee with the platform, or after enough successful sales on the platform, let's spin up your own website. Let's get a contract going. Like I'm thinking Mintbase, right? Like shout out to Nate and Caro at Mintbase. I really dig what they're doing. Mintbase is another option. Like if you have a strong following online on Twitter or whatever, you could get on Mintbase, work with the curator and say, okay, I'll give you whatever X amount you guys decide on to like curate the work and do some like buzzing for me out there in the social worlds. Just talk about me. I don't need you to like retweet or repost because I want to be authentic, but just talk about me and get me in like PR circles so they can talk about me. And that's worth X amount %. But I want to be on my own contracts on my own website. So now I'm doing Mintbase. Technically, I guess you're on Mintbase's contract, but like, I'm sure you could work something out with Nate behind the scenes, like where it's you, right? What do you think about that idea? I feel like that's a nice kind of like medium where you still technically may have like a platform because it's Mintbase and their whole, you know, community. And then it's very largely you though. It's mainly you.
I think it depends heavily on the artist, no, the artist way. Like Giant Swan say about Joy, is for me, for example, I am not a very social type. Like every moment of the day, twittering, but twittering. I don't know if that word exists, but I used to work with galleries. And they are, if they are good, they are really useful because they can give you like more mental space to create. No, in that. At the same time, it's empowering what one can do for ourselves in crypto art. No, it's like those two things. I don't know how to say, but yeah. I think it can be a good thing, a very good thing for people like me, for example. I'm down to that.
Let me ask you, Lucas, would you appreciate a Spanish podcast? Like if we, not podcast, but panel, if we did one of these crypto art panels and in all Spanish, would
yes,
that
totally.
Okay. Maybe we can add that by Friday. Maybe tomorrow we'll slide in a Spanish only panel because it feels like half of Argentina is involved in like crypto.
Yes.
Every single Spanish speaking person I've had a conversation with about crypto art, yes. It's like, oh, I'm you know, from Argentina. It's like
yes.
half of Argentina in crypto.
You know? Lots of talent too.
Yes. We were analyzing why is that, and one thing is good education, free education. No, it's very important, but also a catastrophic economy. No, yeah. So like $1 here is money. No, so it's an equation that give good results. No, it's fine. But I think that you are saying is very valuable because I know a lot of people that will be awesome for this space, but everything is in English. No? Everything in crypto art is in English. So yeah. It's a barrier now for the rest of the world.
Yeah, thank you for confirming that. I sense that if we want to make this community more accessible to people and the knowledge more accessible to people, that it's important to really think beyond English, right? Just as we've thought beyond like the dollar, the fiats, right? We've put it in crypto, which is pretty universal for folks. So thank you. Yeah, maybe we'll slip in a Spanish only panel, and I'll let you be the moderator because my Spanish is muy mal. And I can understand pretty well, but my speaking is like super horrendous. So I wouldn't want to embarrass myself or anyone on the panel by trying to provide gringo Spanish for the panel.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point. And also too, how you can express yourself, right? Using your mother tongue is far different than how you would express yourself, right, in someone else's tongue. So
I'm struggling right now with it.
and so to sew that up, I feel the same way about artist sovereignty.
Yes.
And I feel that sovereignty is the artist's mother tongue, and being beholden to another person's, being holding to someone else in your ability to make a living for yourself, or your ability to brand yourself, or your ability to decide what your persona is and what your brand is,
yes,
is like having to speak in someone else's tongue. While all these platforms are awesome, great guys at Super Rare, they have a super team. Great guys at Nifty Gateway, they have a very nifty team, and they're dropping people this Friday. So like queue up your crypto for that if you're interested in that, or just like tune in if you want to see how it goes. Great people at Known Origin. We had David on the panel. Great people at Makers. We're going to have one of their community members or head of community on a panel on Saturday. You know, I haven't spoken with, great people at Wearable. Love what they're doing, getting out there, pioneering with their Rary, really changing things in their communities to put the artists first with their verifiable badges. So those are the folks that I've had conversations with. Great people at OpenSea, obviously they're the OGs. Something that I just really stress to artists as we move forward in this very new space and nascent beginnings, really consider your sovereignty, because what you create and put out there actually is the value. It isn't the other way around. If Super Rare wants to kick someone off the platform for any reason that, you know, it doesn't align with their TOS, they're gone. Like, and they're gone, right? So everyone's being fair, everyone's trying to make the best for all artists, but the reality is if artists don't consider their sovereignty, being that, you know, in neuroscience, we can only become what we see, and artists are responsible for creating what we see, what we believe, what we're inspired by, right? We must be the ones to say, look, we got to do this on our own terms or by our own way, and us eating or not eating is not up for negotiation. If we're not eating, the world is blind, because we create the images, we create the inspiration. We're the ones that, you know, are really championing humanity behind the scenes. And for the first time in history, we're having a discussion about secondary sales and royalties. It's like, why wasn't that discussed 100 years ago? Why wasn't Michelangelo given his royalties? Why didn't Da Vinci get his royalties? Do you know what I'm saying? These things can't be up for negotiation anymore. We have to understand our power and our position. And if the world wants to be blind and live in a boring world, that's up to them. We have to create another world over here that's lively, colorful, and reciprocal, where people are actually eating and wellness is not up for debate. So
I love that.
Thank you guys so much for the panel. If anyone else, those are my closing thoughts. If anyone else has closing thoughts, this is that time now before we transition into the close of this panel and get ready for our panel at 3 o'clock, which is the trash art panel.
Thanks. That was a beautiful summary. I like that a lot, Lady Phoenix. That was,
yeah, we did it disservice.
This is a very
something else on the
moment
end.
Yeah, that was awesome.
of
Thank you,
art
Lady
and
Phoenix.
creativity.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much. Yes, hearts to all of you. Thank you very much for giving your time. Don Allen was like, oh, I don't know if I can moderate the panel because I have work. I can do it on my lunch break. And I'm like, dude, did he take his job? He's still on this panel. I thought he only had an hour.
Don Allen and I have a call after this. It's hilarious, and neither of us knew we were both in this panel.
Yeah, that's a complete surprise. That's
I've been thinking this whole time.
I know when I saw you, I was like, maybe we're both in the wrong meeting.
I know. At first, I was like, "Wait, what's going on? We have a meeting."
The live cast going, and you guys can have your meeting. And
yeah, just everyone close, please.
Into the talk.
Incredible.
Well, thank you guys very much. I'm Lady Phoenix. We've had Joy, Lucas, Don Allen III, Giant Swan, Metageist, and Glass Crane. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been a super inspiring panel. Definitely one for the history books. I think that, you know, there are a few discussions that are as honest and transparent as this one and as refreshing. So you guys are still the people that I love in VR, AR, and XR, and now you're at like totally in my #1 position. Don't want to say I have art crushes on all of you, but I have art crushes on all of you. So,
and you guys have been nailing this all week. It's been brilliant. Been watching all of these all week, and they're exactly what we need. Really well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah, thank you all.
Continue discussion on Twitter. And also,
second,
I've seen a few wrong Twitters for Don Allen III. He's Don Allen III. People have been adding Don Allen II. Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's my dad. And
Okay.
my grandpa is the first.
Super.
He's
Well,
getting all
Don
the
Allen's logo is his podcast, which is really awesome. Also, Don Allen, if you want to add this and clean it up and add it to your podcast for a crypto podcast, you have total permission to do that.
That's a great
me,
idea.
And I think
Oh my
from everybody else, but if you want to do a crypto art XR podcast, this could be cool.
I didn't even think about that until right now. Wow.
We're here for each other, man. We're here for each other.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, the podcast I have is called Rethink Reality, and we're all
Really
about interviewing people in the XR space. And the whole goal is to future-proof curious creatives for that next thing, so that like we're not just left in the dark when this stuff is inevitably going to happen. So we've had speakers from like Facebook executives who run Spark AR. We brought in people who've like at Maxon who make a lot of the 3D programs. Brought in a lot of filter creators, a lot of AR creators, and then more people along that. So I guess this is totally, as I'm saying, this is totally aligned. This whole conversation is very much aligned. So yeah, I'll find a way to extract the audio somehow. That would be amazing.
I'll send it to you. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Rock on in the free world, and we'll see you for the next panel.
Awesome. Love you all.
Bye,
Be loud.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.